We interrupt your normal scheduled broadcasting to remind you to remain indoors. There we go. That's not the start of the show, but I have unmuted myself so you can hear me, and now you can see me. I'd be a good emergency broadcaster, I think, for that kind of message. I look too young. I look too baby-faced, Matt. I think that's part of the problem. But voice-wise, I can do that. Remain indoors. You're doing the best thing you can for your family and your loved ones. Britain gathers round the tables of the United Kingdom I'm losing the bit, but yeah, you get what I mean. I could do that. Or we could do this podcast that we plan to do, and I could stop mucking around.
Well, it's about 50-50, I'd say.
Let's do this. Let's do the podcasty thing. And obviously, I wasn't just stalling because I'd forgotten to plug my soundboard in. What was fantastic yesterday on our Missed Apex podcast, I'll let you onto this before we start the stream proper. I got to the end of the show, realised I was wrapping up. But earlier in the show, I had done a comedy bit where I pretended to answer the phone from my lawyers. And I had to unplug it from my soundboard to do that. Unfortunately, unplug it from my mixer. Unfortunately, the phone is my soundboard. So as we got to the end of the show and I was trying to do the bumper, I realised my phone was unplugged. And then I had to stall and ask Matt, "Hey Matt, do you want to plug something right?" Well, I desperately tried to set everything up, but that's so and I was just doing the same thing just then to cover up for looking for a button and realising that I hadn't reset my soundboard. So it's all good.
Yep. It is very typical of the thing that can happen when you're your own producer and trying to do a show at the same time.
We need an in-shed producer. I need to train my boy to be my producer. All right, let's try this. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Remain Indoors podcast. We'll be looking at some lighter news from around the internet, having a grumble when required, and talking about the ways we're keeping ourselves entertained at home. Remain indoors. We'll also bring you some interesting people to talk to from our community of radio and podcast friends. Welcome to the stream. We'll be here for the next 40 minutes or so talking about life and games and telly and stuff. And we have one of my bestest internet buddies / real life buddies, but we're both a bit uncomfortable about that. All will be revealed soon. But first, let me introduce my co-host, Matt Two Rumpets. Hello, Matt.
Hey, how we doing today? Another show.
Yeah, another show. And what's really good about doing this 3 times a week is if I forget something, like I was kicking myself when we were talking about nicknames last week for not telling you about my favorite ever nickname, but I can now say it to you. I've not had to wait a whole week.
That's brilliant. For me, the funny thing was we had the gap from Thursday to Sunday show, the Formula One show, and it seemed like a whole week between shows. I was like, wow, I got on Sunday. I was like, wow, it's been a really long time. And then I thought, no, it's not been a really long time at all.
No, I spoke to him a couple of days ago. But yeah, on Thursday we were talking about nicknames, and I forgot about my favourite ever nickname. It was a guy we used to work in an engineering workshop with, and we all took our break at the same time, and everyone would rush to play cards. We used to play this version of bridge. I've forgotten its name, but it could be Noms or something. Our guest will know this game in a second. But this one guy used to just sit down, and while everyone was rushing to get the cards out and squeeze their break in and eat stuff, he would literally just sit there and do nothing for the entire time. And then when the break was over, he would then just get up and go back to work. And his nickname was Screensaver.
That's brilliant.
It just made me cry every time. I tell you what, speaking of nicknames, the best nickname ever to grace the internet. It's Tony Thunderbeast Barnard. How's it going, T?
Very well, thank you. Hello, guys. How are you?
Really good. What's the name of that card game that I'm trying to describe, Tony? You know it.
I can't tell you. Is this a safe for work show?
Oh, it's not that one. No, it's not that one. You're thinking of...
The second word is head.
Yeah, no, it's not that one. You're thinking of
Oh, well, then I don't know. Sorry.
S-head. No, it's a really kind of... it's like an idiot's version of bridge that is easy to... I think it was called Noms or something like that. But, you have those very bridgy games like Hearts and Noms where there's 4 of you and you all have to win the hand in the middle. But people get really upset in bridge if you don't play correctly even if you're opposing. There's a certain way that you're meant to play, and people get really upset if you don't do it.
Yeah, I've never been very good at card games. Anyone that I ever pick up and play, I'm always terrible at it, like the absolute worst. So I've never really put much effort into playing them.
So the game you're describing, Tony, is the one that you and I used to play a lot when we worked together worked together, trained together. We were in each other's pockets for a period of about 6 months in 2000, the year 2000 or 2001. I think we don't have to remember exactly. It was far too long ago. But we were together, Tony, a wonderful time for our radar techniques course back in the before time, learning about stuff.
We were so cool. Yeah, so cool. Oh, I've got, if you don't mind, I've got a good nickname, my favorite nickname of anyone.
Oh, yeah, go on then, yeah.
All right, so picture the scene where we're all young lads back in that time as well on the parade square. Monday morning was Regimental Sergeant Major's parade. Every Monday morning. I used to be in the army, by the way. And he would go up and down, the old Regimental Sergeant Major, and inspect everybody. And he found one person, and he picked out something about him that he didn't like. And he went, "What's your name, boy?" And he went, "G, sir," because his name, G-E-E, was his surname. And he went, "Cheese? Cheese? I don't want your nickname. Are you some kind of wide boy?" And then Cheese was born.
Are you some kind of wide boy? Mate. Unfortunately, I am similarly afflicted. So I was a former REME engineer as well, Royal and Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, along with Tony, and that's where we met. So we have both experienced marching up and down the square. Matt, apart from Matt, sorry if you feel left out, Matt.
No, not really.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had your hand up.
Well, no, I was going to ask you. I mean, clearly you must have had a nickname.
No, not really. No.
No?
No.
No one ever cared enough to give you a nickname?
Not at that time. Not at that kind of time. I was not one of the cool kids, and I don't know if Tony knows this, but I always felt like in our radar group that like me and John were kind of a bit in the background, keeping ourselves to ourselves, and there was like you and Ben were like the lads, you and Ben and Chris, you were like the wide boys, and you were the cool kids, and we used to like, honestly, it was like school. We'd look to you guys as like the queen bees.
I don't remember any of these names. Who are these people?
They're all insignificant now.
Well, I was just going to say, since we're talking about nicknames, my favorite pre-Trumpets nickname comes from my cycling days, where I was actually nicknamed Big Ring because I ran a 55-tooth chain ring for time trials.
Big Ring.
I thought that was pretty awesome.
Are you serious? Big Ring.
I'm totally serious.
Okay, I don't think Big Ring is a very good nickname. I would certainly never tell anyone about that. But Tony, you just sort of brought me horrible flashbacks from the parade square. We weren't in the same basic training unit. We were quite close to each other, I think. But during my basic training, the sergeant major would come up and inspect you, and our company sergeant major just hated me because apparently I can be quite unlikable at random times.
No, I don't believe that. It's so strange that he would think that. I can't think you were such a great guy back then.
He absolutely hated me, and he would find anything, absolutely anything on the morning parade. He'd be like, you boy. And he'd be look up and down, and he'd be about to like walk away, and then he'd go, "Oh, there's a fleck of mud on your boot. Take him away, Sergeant." And then I would get marched to the back of the square where all the naughty kids would then have to do extra like drill and PT. And that happened to me like every single time. Sorry, Matt, I thought you were trying to get in again. When you do that, that fools me into thinking you've got a point.
I just missed you because I was monitoring the chat room, and a lot of people in the chat room apparently don't know what a quote-unquote wide boy is. So you must explain now.
It's like a cocky Jack the Lad, thinks he can get away with what he wants. How he thinks he has the audacity to turn up on the Regimental Sergeant Square, thinking he can dress inappropriately and not be 100%, that kind of thing.
Ah, yes. Very good then.
The sort of wide boy that gets sent off to military jail every week. And in fact, it got it was so regular that the rest of the guys adapted around it. So they planned around it to go, oh, well, right, we're going to do the morning drill, the morning inspection. Richard's going to take a little bit longer. So they used to help me out because they knew I would get sent off to the back or to jail every Monday morning. They would have like my kit ready for me so that I didn't make them late on my way back from jail. And they'd be like, oh, here's your backpack. It's all packed, ready to go. Go, oh, thanks, lads. And I'd be absolutely knackered starting the week off.
Wait,
That is savage.
You regularly spent your weekends in jail?
No.
This is a new thing.
No.
I did not know this.
No. From like Monday morning, I would basically have an extra hour of either like moving sandbags from one side of the parade square to the other, or being sent to the back to do extra drill while everyone was going to get ready for PT or whatever. But like I said, because this one, company sergeant major hated me, every single inspection parade, he'd be like, you boy, you've got a fleck of dust on your cap. Off you go.
Clearly he hated you. It was personally, you were targeted and not just mildly incompetent.
Well, I mean, it could have been down to my incompetence as well, or he simply could have hated me for my incompetence. I guess we'll never know. But it was a lot of fun. It's definitely a life experience. Tony, though, you were always a much more just capable all-around soldier than I was. Like, you just seemed to... I always felt like you just fit a little bit more, like you were a natural soldier.
I can't believe, right? So if you're not watching the live stream, if you're listening today, I've got a smirk on my face because I know where this is going. He always tries to flatter me with, "Oh, you were a much better soldier," and then later on goes, "Oh, but I did score higher than you in our trade training."
No, that isn't where I was going. Right, that isn't where I was going. Yes, I did score higher than you in our trade training, simply because I outscored.
I knew it.
Only because I outscored everyone. It wasn't just you. I was better than everyone at that. But when it came to soldiering, I was just that little half step behind, a lot smaller than the other guys. I would get regularly filled in and beaten up.
And that's why you didn't have a nickname.
Because I was not a good enough soldier to warrant a nickname. But I always saw you genuinely, and this is why you ended up becoming the Thunder Beast. Because you got that, you're like 8 foot tall, you're strong, you're tough, you've got endurance, and you carry yourself in that way. And I always found that very intimidating, T. That's all I was going to say.
Oh, right. Oh, well, that's awfully nice of you to say. But now I'm bald and fat, and I get told what to do all the time by my wife. So, swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
Okay. Firstly, you're still magnificent. Secondly, though, we are seeing the effects of the recent workout you did just before you came on stream. That's why you might have a slightly ruddy complexion. You're not drinking during lunchtimes.
Not today, anyway. Yeah, we did a part of our daily routine with the kids. We do the Joe Wicks PT thing. We did it a bit later today. I was trying to get out of it, to be honest. I mentioned offhandedly yesterday that I would do it with the kids because my wife wanted to go and do something else. And I thought she'd forgotten. She goes, "Oh, are you going to do Joe Wicks?" I was, oh, God. So, I've got a beetroot head at the minute.
The chat room begs to differ. They say you are glowing, my friend.
There we go. Very kind chat room. And if you want to join our chat room, by the way, it's not a mystical, magical, invite-only thing. Anyone can go and find us on YouTube by searching for Remain Indoors and at Remain Indoors on Twitter. That's right, I finally did it. And you can join this live stream and hang out with us at 2 p.m. BST, which is UTC +1, and that is at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays, Mondays, and Thursdays, which I now realize is the wrong order to say. Let me start again. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Today we've got Tony with us. Tomorrow we're being joined by Liam Taylor, who's got the world's biggest feet and never wears socks or shoes and lives in a shed. And then on Thursday, Lauren Thomas, girlrunninglate.com, is going to come and talk to us as well. Tony, I think the interesting thing from our point of view, because you said, okay, you're fat and bald in your words and you're getting told off by your wife, more so, I guess, because of the lockdown restrictions. But I think it's interesting that from particularly your perspective, but also mine to a lesser degree, we're used to having our liberty and our freedom compromised for extended periods of time. And I think perhaps you and I might get blasé to it because, we've had times where we've been away and not been able to do what we want to do all the time.
Yeah, I did 13 years in the army. Then I went and worked offshore for 4 years. The irony is, I left the army to spend more time with my family, and then went away to a job that was half time away, half time back.
That happens to a
So
surprising amount of people. Like my best man as well. He went through that exact thing. I'm going to leave the army. I'm going to see the kids more. Oil rig.
yeah, definitely, because that's the stuff that you could easily get a job. And then after a number of years, I realized this isn't really helping my career. It's just a job. And yeah, anyway, I'm used to it. All that time away, I've become accustomed to being away from home, become accustomed to seeing the same four walls. During the week now, I've got a normal human job. So I work down in Stevenage. I rent a little room in a guy's house. But again, during the week, don't do a great deal. Just finish work, come home, look at the four walls, odd podcast to you, maybe a bit of gaming, and then go home on the weekend. So it's not, I haven't found it that difficult yet. I'll tell you what, I've not done so much exercise before.
Well, you're under the watchful gaze of your wife now. So does that mean you have to, like me, I have to ask permission to go and play video games? I put it in the calendar and I say, look, I've identified a spot where I can play video games without interfering with the family routine.
Not quite, because if I ever said to anyone that I had to ask permission, she would, is vehemently the right word, she would deny it. So, you don't need to ask permission. I'm not that kind of wife. You all are. They all are.
You all are. Okay.
So I'll set up my computer in the place where it's going to be, and then I won't say anything for a couple of hours. And then later on, she'll go, "Are you going on your game, are you?" And I'll be like, she doesn't speak that deeply, by the way. And I'll be like, yeah, I was planning on doing it, like really sheepishly and pathetically. I'm nearly 40. I'm a grown man. I used to be somebody.
I used to be a sergeant in the British Army, and now I have to ask permission to play video games. But I think a lot of men are in the same boat. We will say that his opinion, Tony's opinion, that all wives and women are like that, is his opinion and not that of Remain Indoors podcast. As far as we know, there may be 2 or 3 examples of wives who don't give their husbands very hard times for going and playing video games. I've just not heard of them or seen any evidence of them. You'd think there would be a documentary on such a wife, is all I'm saying. But Tony, what are you playing? What game are you playing? I'm a bit behind on my gaming.
I can't call myself a gamer dad because I'd get one game and then I'd just play that. And the game that I'm playing now is years old. It's called Rust. It's like a grown-up version of Minecraft, which doesn't make me sound very cool, but it is.
So hang on. So are you like sat there like building a fort and then defending it from zombies or something?
So you wake up naked on a beach, like actually naked, and you get assigned a random character, a man or a woman, and all of the stuff is out.
Wait a minute. So when I've played like Red Dead Redemption before, I've like put on a cowboy outfit to go, yeah, yeehaw, I'm doing this whole thing. I'm fully in character. Do you do that for Rust? Whip off your kecks and go, no, I'm fully immersed.
Yes. And as you acquire clothing, you can put clothes back on.
Yes. Daddy, why are you naked in front of the TV, Daddy?
So so I'll condense it and try not to be boring. You have a rock and a flame torch. You use the rock to beat other rocks to get rock, and you bash trees to get trees, and eventually you make a stick, and then you stab someone with the stick, and they have a bow. So you take that bow and their clothes, and it goes on until you've got AKs and helicopters and all that stuff. It's all right, actually.
Oh, Rust. I'm going to check that out, and that's on PC?
Yeah, I got it off the Steam store. So later on, once you get tooled up, it's quite good for PvP.
Okay, good. No, that's the kind of thing we're doing here is, how are we passing the time? And I loved your comment of her saying, well, I would never object. You don't need my permission. What are you on about? I've got a similar situation at home with the lovely Mrs. Spanners, who had a go at me a couple of days ago for not making enough of the decisions around what the activities we're doing and the schooling and the curriculum and what we're going to approach next. So she had this kind of like, it's just going to be me, isn't it, for this whole time? It's just going to be me making the decisions and you're just going to follow. And why is it all on? And she made, quite a big thing of it. And I said, hang on a minute. Let's be fair. If I was to tell you, no, I don't agree with what you're doing, and I was to set about my own routine, you would have a go at me. A, for arguing with you, and B, whatever I did, you would then tell me was wrong, and have a go at me. So as far as I could see it, Matt, I had two choices. A, get told off for being passive and not proactive, or two, I could get told off for putting in loads of effort and getting it wrong. So I decided to pick the lazy version, and I've continued being passive and not doing anything.
I'm laughing at this because it's that thing where you need to do the thing. Okay, let's do X, and I'm going to do this. No, you should really do it that way instead. It is that thing. I think when you live with somebody else, and especially when you have kids. Like for me, this is always the thing. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the office. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get out of everybody's way, and then it's fine until it's not fine, and then it wasn't fine at all because the kid needed oversight and I wasn't there to oversee. And so I'm like, well, fine. Tell me, when do I come up? When do you need me to do things so you can do things? But it never really quite works like that, no matter how hard you try, right?
But I shouldn't have to tell you. You should just do things off your own back. Why do I have to tell you to do everything? I may as well just do the thing myself. And I say like, well, no, saying 3 words, please do laundry. It is not the same as doing the laundry.
I've said, why don't we compile a list of all the things that you expect me to do and the things that you're happy to do, and then there won't be any ambiguity. And she's always said no to that, and I know why. Because if we do that, there will be absolutely no room to criticize me and tell me that I'm a terrible, terrible person. I mean, the classic example here is why do I always have to decide what's for dinner? You decide what's for dinner. I'm like, okay, good. Bolognese. No, not bolognese. We had bolognese 2 days ago. Okay, fine. A curry. Oh, I don't like curry. Right. Okay, so you've said I should decide, and it's the same with restaurants, isn't it? Where do you want to eat? Oh, I'm easy. I don't mind. Good. Pizza Hut. No, not Pizza Hut. Okay, the really posh restaurant at the end of the road, Chateau de blah blah blah. And oh no, why are you wasting money? You're stupid. Like, come on, think about it. So I think it's better to get told off for not making a decision than get told off for trying hard. That's my marriage tip for today is never try hard. You're going to get told off anyway. I think that would do it.
Yeah, I was thinking I would one day open a restaurant called Not Bothered. And then all of the men that have tried to get out of their missus, where do they want to go? And they say, I'm not bothered. And then that's where they go.
Exactly.
And they serve pizza and burgers and man stuff.
And there's sport on the thing. There's sport on the telly and just reruns of MASH. Yes, I love that. Yeah, where do you want to go for dinner? I'm not bothered. I get that all the time. I'm not bothered. You so are bothered. Anyway, this has turned into a Dad Hub style rant, Tony.
Hooray!
I got requests for Dad. Every now and then we had a few people who listened to Dad Hub who loved it, and now I've tried to say, well, we can't relaunch Dad Hub because we used to say naughty things on there, and now we don't do that anymore because we're proper grown-ups. So this is the closest we're gonna get.
I think we've matured enough now, though, to be able to have those conversations without. Well, I've matured because I was the one who always used to swear the most. I think I could get through a show without saying the naughty words, or at least only a handful, so there wasn't that much editing to do in post.
But all the themes of your... Do you remember when you were a blogger and you did 4 blogs? All those themes would be inappropriate for this show.
No, I did more than 4. I did like 13 or 16, something like that. And I just looked on the blog page today, actually, and it was 2016, I think.
You've always
yes,
created...
that is true.
Yeah, you've always
2016.
You've always created good content. You've given up. But you're a busy guy. You're a busy guy, Tony. And look, just going briefly back to the times when we were away doing stuff and your freedom was kind of restricted. One of those times is operational tour, and what people have a very weird viewpoint in their head of when you go away with the army, that it's all helicopter drops into enemy territory. It's like the film Shooter, where you're running over the hills, running away from gunfire and stuff. But a lot of the time, it is just staying in a location, being available if you're needed, and doing very, very mundane things for a long period of time. And it has a real weird effect on guys, especially over a number of years.
Yeah. I was in for a long time and I did a lot of stuff. I did 4 tours of various things. I did a tour in the Falklands. I did a UN peacekeeping tour in Cyprus, and those were very low key, very easy, just standing around, not doing a great deal sort of deals.
So I've done that Cyprus tour as well, and that's considered a sunshine tour. So there was a pre-existing conflict, but now there's a UN mandate. The fighting's long stopped, but United Nations soldiers basically police the border, essentially. So there's lots of patrolling, lots of sitting up in watchtowers, watching your life just fritter away, and you hear about your friends getting up to stuff, and you're literally like, I think my 21st birthday, I spent 6 hours up a watchtower going, whew, I may have made bad life choices.
Yeah, those watchtowers are great. I think I taught myself to sing up there. I did a hell of a lot of singing to myself, and now I'm amazing at karaoke.
Please demonstrate. No, don't. We'll get a copyright notice on YouTube.
Exactly, because it sounds just like the real thing.
And then I never did the Falklands tour, but I've been out there maybe 10 times for like 2 or 3 week periods. And I actually, as a civilian, went out there and saw you doing the Falklands tour. And now the Falklands is a very interesting place. There's really nothing there at all. There's an airport, and then about 40 minutes away over an unmetalled road, there's a small settlement called Port Stanley. But there really is nothing to do. And I did think, God, 6 months there must have been really killer. How did you find 6 months literally in the middle of nowhere?
I don't think that's strictly true. There's about 2 weeks worth of activities. You go and do the battlefield tours and see the penguins and go and see the seals and all that stuff. And then after about 2 weeks, you got nothing to do. So they say when you go over there, you go to the Falklands, you either get fit or you get fat. So you either just drink yourself into oblivion or hit the gym every day. There's one or the other. I chose the latter.
The gym?
No, get fit or get fat. Yeah, the fat one.
Oh, right. I thought you said it the other way around. I'm so sorry.
Nah.
But no, you do. And I was there for 3 weeks, and I was going stir crazy after 3 weeks, and I would just end up just drinking myself silly in the bars. And the bars were rammed because, it was tri-service, and everyone was just in there getting absolutely melted very regularly. There was RAF police with attack dogs outside the bars. So the first time I went there to go for a drink, I'm like having to go past attack dogs and like RAF police in basically riot gear and going, well, this seems like a nice place. We're going to have a lovely drink in here.
Yeah, it's because there's several hundred drunk tri-service personnel who don't want to go home when the bar shuts. And then you always get the people who try to stroke the dogs and they're like,
yeah, don't stroke attack dogs.
Not often I have a story to compete with your time in the service, but I spent some time in Kansas doing a National Endowments for the Arts residency for the Brass Quintet. And it turns out in Kansas, there are no public bars. The best you can get is what we call near beer, like 3% alcohol.
What?
You have to go to a private establishment to drink real booze. And I was out. Yeah, really.
Wow. Imagine how much of that Tony would have to drink to even feel it.
Well, it was the trombone player's birthday, and we were celebrating. And after our 6th or 7th can of beer, he looked at me and said, "I don't think this is real beer." And so the handy barkeep said, "No, you want to go down the road to Maryland's." Okay. And it's like you can pay like $5 and you're a member of the club, and then you can go drink there like it's a regular bar. So it's totally a dodge. But Maryland's, it basically looks like a trailer in an unpaved parking lot, and where you're getting these strong overtones because he was from Boston, I was from New York. You start to get these strong. You look at the cars parked in the parking lot. You start to get these strong overtones of deliverance. And we're like, yeah, but we're going to go in, and you walk and it's blind. You make a little jink to the left. And I look, and there's 4 guys who are straight out of Central Casting, and they just all stop. Everything stops, and they all just turn and look at you with this expression on their face. And I was just like, this may have been a mistake. But then we said who we were, and everybody was like friendly, so it was fine. But
do you know, actually, even in New York, I found a couple of those bars where you went, oh, this was very much for locals. We've gone off the beaten trail here, and we've gone off the tourist route, and people are like, who the hell are those guys? But with a British accent, you kind of got away with anything, because you just go, good evening, can I get a couple of beers, please? And they would be like, oh my God, you're from England. And then they just ask you questions for ages and buy you beer. You've had that in the States as well, T?
Yeah. I've spent a couple of nights in New York City, and it was Super Bowl weekend. Oh, I can't remember what year it was, long time ago. The Saints won, and it was cool. And we went to we tried to deliberately find a bar on like a side street so we could sit and watch the game. And it was awesome. It was really good. Everyone was really welcoming. It was really cool.
Oh, right. Sorry. Right. I thought that was going somewhere. Okay. So back to the board. Sorry, Tony. Tony's looking offended. It just ended in a really weird spot. That was a big, long tangent, but basically saying, even when there was no pressure, a lot of people were going stir crazy. And I think people are finding that now. And I sort of quite easily adjusted to the lockdown situation, because my mind kind of went into that mode of, oh, well, guess we can't just do stuff. But actually, it's a really weird thing that me and Tony are so happy to let go of our liberties to achieve a certain thing. For most people, it's a difficult thing. And Matt, you're an incredibly liberally minded person, very protective of our freedoms, which you should be. Perhaps that mindset is different depending on your background.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to me. Because I'm a musician, I regularly spent a lot of time at home. I would practice. So having tasks to accomplish for myself and setting schedules and doing things, I don't find it to be incredibly tedious. And I do get out every day and exercise, or most days. If the weather's bad enough, I'll stay indoors and exercise. But the other day, my wife she got real cabin fever. And the kid had this assignment, and we were supposed to go for family walk, and the kid was taking forever to get it done, which, in her defense, she was trying to do a good job, which I don't know why she bothers, but whatever.
Oh, that's not the attitude of parenting.
Don't tell her I said that, but at a certain point, you've done a good enough job, so why spend more energy on it?
Yeah,
right?
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah, big rings and no frills kind of guy, isn't he?
Yeah, well,
big ring. I forgot about that already. Yeah, Matt's big ring. And welcome my co-host, Matt, Big Ring Trumpets. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. That's my cycling nickname.
I feel like you don't know that sounds dirty. That's the feeling I'm getting. T is that has not registered in his head.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like something I should be ashamed of. I'll put it that way, even if it is dirty.
So your daughter is getting this assignment done. She's got the assignment done, and you're heading off on your walk to deal with Amanda's cabin fever.
Yeah, but she was properly bugging, waiting to get out of the house. She was in such a terrible, terrible mood. But I've been thinking about it, and I think it all really comes down to all of this stuff we've been complaining about. It all comes down to what I like to call the airport conundrum, which is fundamentally in any relationship, there's someone who wants to get to the airport sooner than the other person.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Okay, go on. Continue.
And I think all of the conflict is about, who would do what when, and it all boils down to the airport. If you're the person who shows up 10 minutes before boarding and runs to the airport, and your partner is the person who shows up early, then they're the one who comes and bangs on the door and says, are you playing games now? Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And if you're the other person, you're like, I'll do it whenever. I'll get it. When do you need it done? Today? Okay, I'll do it today. Now leave me alone, and I'll get to it probably before the day actually ends. And that's just the...
Yeah. Now I'm going to bet that you are the airport 10 minutes before check-in guy, and at a
whatever
Weaver
gave you that idea.
Knowing you for 7 years is what's given me that idea. And you're very similar to my wife. It might be a musician thing. It drives me absolutely nuts. My wife cannot be early for things. So in her head, you've got to be at the airport. We'll use the airport. The latest check-in is at 2:00. Okay, so she will aim to get to the airport at 2:00. And that drives me nuts because you get there and you've got loads of other things to do. You've got to find the thing, the anxiety of making sure you're in the right queue. You're not going to miss it. Nothing can go wrong on the journey there, and it relies on you leaving the house at the exact right time. So she'll say, it's 40 minutes to the airport. We shall leave at 1:20 to get to check-in for 2 o'clock. And I'm like, no. If my check-in is at 2, I want to be there at 1, right? And it's 40 minutes to get there, but something might go wrong. So I'm leaving an hour for my journey, right? And also, I'm going to lie to everyone about having to leave at 12 now. I'm going to tell everyone that actually the check-in is at 1 and we need to leave at 11:30. So I'll want to leave at 11:30 for this 2 o'clock check-in. And if none of those problems occur, we'll like get to the checkout desk by like, I don't know, by like 12:30 with an hour and a half to spare if nothing goes wrong. And then she is livid with me for making us get there that early.
Yeah, because who's entertaining the kids for that extra 90 minutes?
Look, we're there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care. Once you're there, nothing can go wrong. And you can go and get something to eat. You can have a beer. You can do anything. The thing is, the downsides of being early are dwarfed by the downsides of being late, which is missing your flight.
I'm howling. Rob Andrews in the chat room would like to know exactly how much of your life you have wasted by arriving early at places.
I haven't wasted any of it. In the olden days, yes, maybe, because there's like nothing to do. But now you can be productive. Everyone's got devices. I can literally work anywhere. And so I haven't wasted any time, Rob. And as someone in your industry, Rob, as I think I've gleaned from Twitter posts, is time spent drinking beer at an airport really wasted? Or is that quality lifetime? That is what I would ask. Tony, which one? Oh, go on, Matt, and then we'll ask T.
I was going to just shed a little light on your marital relationship.
Mine? Uh-oh.
With the following musician joke that was told to me by a very famous New York City trombone player, which is, what's the only thing worse than being late for a gig?
Tell me.
Being early.
Yeah, it's bad, and that's what it physically makes her feel bad to be early. Tony, you're with me, right? What was the old army saying? It's if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah, it's always 5 minutes before, 5 minutes before. And every layer of command that the message gets passed down to get the troops somewhere, they add 5 minutes. So it's like, right, we're signing out weapons at 0600 the armory, says the commanding officer. By the time it gets down through sergeant majors, troop sergeants, corporals, we're drawing weapons at 4 a.m. Don't be late. And then you sit there for 2 hours.
Yeah, so you end up getting told, so your section corporal is going to do his inspection at 5 a.m. He's like, yeah, everyone's great, everyone's in good order. Okay, great. Stay to attention. Platoon sergeant's coming in a minute. He'll do his inspection. Then troopy's got to come and do their inspection as well. And you're right, there's like 4 layers of like just getting there early. It was a nightmare. Hurry up and wait. That's where that comes from.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, I'm a bit of both. I like to, in my mind, I make my decisions based on efficiency and risk management. So where it's appropriate, I like to get to the airport super early, like ridiculously early. And I even then, I have anxiety until I'm through security and I've got nothing in front of me that could stop me from getting there on time.
Exactly.
And then I just relax. But at home, when I get asked to do something, I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. If it's a non-important, trivial thing, I'll just be like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then because I don't start that task immediately, my wife sort of hovers around and she's like, well, when are you going to do it? Well, today, like you said, as agreed. Now, please allow me to carry it out in my own time.
The organized versus the disorganized mind. My wife is very, very, very organized, like exceedingly organized, like amazingly organized. This is part of how she gets all the amazing jobs she does and why I sit at home and practice the trumpet most of the time.
So basically every musician needs someone, productive and organized. Like what happens when you get 2 musicians in a relationship? I imagine they just essentially miss all of their jobs and just live in a sewer. That's what I think happens if 2 musicians ever marry.
No, I mean, there are definitely musicians who have that organizational capability, and they're usually quite successful. But most people can manage their own work life. It's anything that's not work just gets tossed in a pile, and you just dig it out and do it whenever. But this isn't really work well, in a relationship. Like, can you do the thing for me? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I will do the thing for you. Eventually, possibly next week when I remember it, or you remind me again. And this has a negative effect on the harmony of the household, if you know what I'm saying. So I've learned to like get better at, if she asks me to do something, I'm like, I always ask follow up, do you need it done today? And if she says yes, and I say, okay, I will try it, I will get to it this afternoon. And then that like, so then she can put it on a list and tick it off in her head and not worry about it till this afternoon. Or she'll only worry about it like the normal, will he ever actually follow through on anything he does kind of deal.
Okay, so you guys, you clearly haven't been using my technique that I told you about 6 years ago, which is to be progressively incompetent at all the major things she asks you to do, and then you don't get asked to do them again, right? If I wouldn't mention this if I thought my wife ever watched anything I put out on the internet, but I am not allowed, like literally I am not allowed to touch the washing machine, and I'm not allowed to decide, like if the washing machine is done, obviously some stuff has to get hung up because it's special and can't go in the dryer. If it was up to me, I would just never buy that thing. Like I like this hoodie, I live in it, but if it was hang up only and couldn't be tumble dried, I would just never wear it again. I would be like, no, like things that can't be put in the dishwasher. That we've got certain special glasses, but she goes, no, those items cannot be put in the dishwasher. They must be hand washed. I'm like, okay, good. Well, I'm never using them, so it's completely down to you to hand wash those items. But yeah, I'm not allowed to use the washing machine because I'm incompetent. So there you go, Tony. You should have just been more generous. It's your fault for being a capable man.
Regardless of how well or unwell I do a job, it's incompetent. It's never good enough. Never good enough. I think we're going down a rabbit hole here.
No, it's fine. I needed to vent.
Well, it comes down to how you accomplish a task. If you ask me and my wife to do the same thing, we could both do the thing. We do it entirely differently. And then what gets frustrating is when you're asked to do the thing, but then you also have to do it the other person's way, which you happen to know personally is by far less efficient and not as structurally sound. Let's say, for example, and you're like,
yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'm out. You should really take charge of this and do it your own way because you will be happier in the end. Or if you want me to do it, then you should go find something else to do while I do it, so I can just do it the way I want to do it and be done with it. But this is like one of the huge banging head points, I think, in every relationship.
Yeah, there's two things there. One is how many jobs would your partner be happy with if they didn't see the process of you doing it? So I can cook a reasonable meal. If she's over my shoulder or in the kitchen, it's always wrong and I'm always doing it terribly. But she's generally happy with what I put on the plate. And then the other thing is, as you say, is there's 4 perfectly good ways to do it, but actually only one of those ways is valid because that's the way your partner would have done it. Guys, we'll take a quick break. Go on then, Tony. Go on. That's all right. Go on. We'll do that.
Just a quick one. Sorry. This reminds me of a long time ago when we moved into this house. We'd never had a dishwasher. And she was like, oh, dishwashers are terrible. They don't wash the dishes properly. And she'd even made plans to pull it out, to get it removed and put something else there, like a tumble dryer or something. I was like, oh, God. So one day she went out and I did the dishes, but I put them in the dishwasher, did the cycle, popped them out of the draining board as if I'd washed them. And I was like, oh, are the dishes all right? She was like, oh, yeah, they're really clean. And then I got to drop that bomb.
Nice. That is satisfying. Oh, good. I mean, I don't know why they put up with us in general, so maybe we should just be grateful that they put up with us at all. I just wanted to cover one bit of news, just in case anybody was wondering, because there's a lot of kids out there that are still losing teeth. Teeth have not stopped falling out, and also with Easter coming, there's a bit of worry about how we're going to get Easter eggs. But there's been a statement by the New Zealand Prime Minister, the Premier there, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I think she's speaking for the entire world. Like, she's representing all the world governments when she has officially declared, this is an official New Zealand mandate, that the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny are officially now key workers, Matt. They have been declared key workers.
That's good. In France, it's a clock, though, not the Easter Bunny.
In France, it's a clock.
A flying clock, yes.
Okay, so France has a flying clock instead of the Easter Bunny. Is this a wind-up? Because I'm going to remember this as a fact forever.
No. David Sedaris, Me Talk Pretty. Years ago, I read it. Hilarious book.
Okay, so...
And he lived in France and had a whole chapter about when they learned about how to talk about Easter when he was learning French, which was hilarious. But he mentioned very clearly that it was a clock, not a
So
rabbit.
the Easter Bunny gets to the French border, and a flying clock says, "Oh, no, it's okay, Easter Bunny. I have got it from here." And he flies this flying, alive mechanical clock and delivers steel chocolate eggs to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And my kid lost a tooth in Spain, and was mentioning to the waitress that, you know, we were going to wait for the tooth fairy, and she explained that no, you don't have to worry, because in Spain the tooth fairy doesn't come. It's a tooth mouse. A little mouse sneaks under your pillow, takes the tooth, and gives you money. Still doesn't explain why they give rich kids more money than poor kids, but we'll work all that out. We'll work all that out another time. Just a relief that Easter and teeth will still be ongoing. The pandemic can't touch those things, Matt.
Yeah, no, it's good. And speaking of kids, we were out on our family walk, and we were coming home, and right before we got to the last street we crossed before we get back home, there's a stop sign, so it's like a little bit of a pinch point. And ahead of us was a mom with a kid in the 8 to 11-ish range.
Oh God,
free
horrible.
range boy running around, and he's running around, and we're approaching this intersection, and they were sort of on the corner playing, and he looked up and saw us, and he went gasp and ran the other direction.
Why?
Because social distancing. He was afraid he was too close, right? And the mom was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And we're like, "Nah, don't worry about it. We've got one of our own. She's 15 now, so she's
Okay. So misunderstanding with the best intentions, social distancing has been hilarious. I would like to move to calling it physical distancing, and I've seen a trend in America. A lot of American podcasts doing that, calling it physical distancing and not social distancing. Because we're still being social here, aren't we? We're still venting. We're still talking to the people in the chat room. Hello, Sam. Hello, other Sam. Tom, John, Lucas, Matt, Rob. So we're all still being social.
I don't know if your wife ever listens to this or mine. We might be social distancing as well.
And Spanners was safe from his wife listening to his broadcasts forever and ever and ever. And she never once checked them out and assumed that I never talk about her. But no, physical distancing, that's the only thing. We can still be social. It's physical distancing. But I was stopped at traffic lights. One day a week I am a key worker, and I was traveling to my place of work. Stopped at some traffic lights, and the car behind me stopped 2 car lengths back. Now, this was quite early on in the physical distancing. He stopped 2 car lengths back, and I went, no, he's not leaving because like 2 meters, you're meant to do 2 meters. He's not leaving 2 car lengths because of that, is he? The car behind then pulled up, obviously saw what was going on ahead and went, oh, I'd best do that as well. So he left 2 car widths, as did the car behind. So we were all sat there at this red traffic light with 2 car lengths between, and I'm like, guys, I don't think that's how social distancing works. But I haven't seen it since, but we were all in that situation. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Sam in the chat room opines that perhaps our wives will now be definitely practicing physical distancing after this broadcast.
Standard fare. Standard.
No comment. no comment. Although I did speak to a married couple with 2 young kids, and they made the comment that everybody who gets pregnant during the lockdown, they said it's all going to be first-time parents, because all the existing parents are like struggling with their kids during lockdown, looking at their partners and going, "Nuh-uh, don't you come anywhere near me. I am not risking another one of those, not under any circumstances." So yeah, there's going to be a lot of first-time parents, and a lot of divorces as well. I think it's important, isn't it, to maintain a little bit of distance in the home. Tony, have you got an escape? I've got the shed. It's brilliant in here. It's soundproof, and more importantly, my wife is now using this for her work as well. So I can send her to the shed if she's stressed. I can say, if you got maybe some admin to catch up on, why don't you get a cup of tea and go and work in the shed for an hour, and we get a bit of kind of blessed relief from each other. How are you getting on with that?
It's not too bad, actually. I don't really have a release. I mean, I'm here in my son's bedroom, doing a bit of this for an hour. So that's a break in itself. But my only other escape is when everybody's gone to bed, and then I'll set up the laptop and do a bit of gaming. On the other hand, in order to escape the nagging of and the scowly eyes of setting up my computer and gaming during the day, doing it in the evening, I'm now knackered every morning. So I don't know what to do.
I have to admit, yes, I did. I asked permission, and you do have to ask permission, no matter what anyone says. I asked permission after our F1 show last night, Matt, to stay up and do some sim racing. And I did that, and I didn't go to bed, I think, until 1:45 last night. And I said, like, do you mind if I do that? And you do breakfast with the kids and maybe don't wake me up till 8. And she agreed, which was very nice of her. But yeah, it is important to have your own space. I tell you what, we'll wrap up today because I said we were going to keep to 45 minutes, which we've never done so far. But I will say briefly, I talked on the radio on Saturday about the things we've discovered around the house. Things we've discovered because we've had more time and run out of our regular stuff and had a little look around. So, for example, we found 3 science kits that we'd obviously been very proud of getting them for their birthdays and then never got around to opening. And one of the other things which I never got around to talking about was aqua dragons. We'd bought my daughter aqua dragons for her last birthday. So they'd been sitting there on the shelf, and we suddenly rediscovered them, and we activated the aqua dragons today. Are you two aware of aqua dragons?
Sea
monkeys.
horses? What do you mean?
Yeah, like sea brine. Yeah, I think they've got lots of different names, but they're basically like little tiny shrimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you put them into the water, you feed them once a day, and they grow, and they grow to about 1 centimeter, right? And for some reason, last time, Matt, you said to me that everything you do with kids is always a few years too early.
Yes.
Like you buy them a motorbike when they're like 2 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like you're in a hurry for them to do stuff. So when I got them the aqua dragons last time, they were interested a bit, but not at all. They became my aqua dragons.
Right. Yeah. No, this totally fits with my entire experience of raising a child. You're like, oh, I remember doing this. This is a great thing. My child will love it. You buy it for them, and then they're too young to appreciate it at all, and it winds up being your project. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or it goes in the loft and will get rediscovered at the appropriate time. And actually, we're rediscovering a lot of that stuff now. We've got 2 Patank sets that we got them when they were like tiny toddlers, and which they weren't interested in because they're heavy or whatever. But now, yeah, 8 and 9, they're like, oh yeah, Patank, that's cool. But the aqua dragons this time, I'm hoping they will be into it. But the last time I got obsessed with it, and there was 6 aqua dragons survived the initial period, and then that got whittled down to 3, and then they started mating, and they started after 30 days. They started mating, and the next generation of aqua dragons, and it was the most exciting thing, but literally only I cared about it. The next generation of aqua dragons came, and then in this little tiny beginner flask, there was hundreds. There was like 200 at least of these aqua dragons floating around everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, I am the bringer of life. I am the king of the aqua dragons. Look what I have look, family, look. No one cared. And I was like, I know. Now this is the beginning of a new dawn, the beginning of a new civilization. I shall transfer them from these humble beginnings to the promised land. And I went and got like a little fishbowl, which I thought, look, I will transfer them. Now they will have the room to breed and to grow, and there will be 1 million of these aqua dragons, and I will be their king. However, the transfer did not go well. I completely underestimated the difference between the volume of water in the little tiny thing and like a proper fishbowl. It's like 100 times as much water. So they didn't have nutrients, they didn't have the right oxygen, and they all died. And I was devastated, but I was doing quite well until the complete genocide of that entire civilization. Before that, I was doing all right.
Hopefully, lesson learned for when the kids are paying attention, because killing all of their pets is really usually a bad move. They don't enjoy that very much. But I just had this fleeting mental image of you in a month's time, if we're still on lockdown at that point, completely unwashed, every basin and toilet in your home filled with aqua dragons because you've just run out of places to put them.
Yeah, that would have been the dream. Thanks very much, guys, for joining us for Remain Indoors podcast. We've got some interesting guests lined up for you for the rest of the week to hopefully keep you entertained. I'll never talk about Aqua Dragons again, I promise. I have been Spanners and will continue to be at Spanners Ready on Twitter. Matt is at MattPT55, and you can go and find Tony and give him a follow as well at ThunderBeasts99. Until next time, remain indoors. See you on Tuesday. Bye.